welcome back everyone. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to negotiate when buying a used car. And just for reference, we're not talking about like buying from a dealership or a used car lot. I mean buying from an individual, like buying off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. So the first thing I want to establish when you go to negotiate for a vehicle is that the majority of the time, someone's asking price is more than they're expecting to get. Any listing you see that says like firm on price or will not budge on price is a red flag, and you may want to just skip that listing from the start. But the majority of the time, the listing will not say that because they're definitely asking more than they're expecting to get. They're expecting a negotiation, so let's make sure that we're the ones better at the negotiating than they are. Now, before we get to normal negotiations, if you are not savvy with buying vehicles yourself, then you should have someone with you that is. You want to be able to check the car out, because if you find something that is literally a deal breaker and the car is like a lemon, you can just move on. But if it's something not that bad and can be fixed pretty cheaply, that's going to give you a lot of negotiating power from the start. But let's get back to a scenario where everything checks out and you're ready to negotiate. And we'll just say that their asking price is $2,000. Now, first thing you don't want to do is lowball them too much. You want to go low, but there's such a thing as going too low. Like if everything checks out on this vehicle and they're asking $2,000, and you offer something like ridiculous, like $800, they may not even want to continue the negotiations. In this situation, a good initial offer would be $1,500. Now, trust me, the majority of the time, they're not just going to take that offer. There will be a counter offer. So let's just say that they counter offer $1,800. Now, typically when someone is selling their vehicle, the first counter offer they make is actually the number that's pretty close to what they were wanting. And most people would hope at that point that you're not going to counter their counter offer. Spoiler, we're going to counter their counter. At this point, I would come back and say $1,600 is my final offer. Now, if someone's desperate enough for the money, they may just take that up on the spot. However, there are two other scenarios that are much more likely in this situation. First scenario is they counter that, which will likely in this situation be $1,700. So at this point, you know you can get it for $1,700 if you want, but the correct move is not to take it at this $1,700. Instead, you stick to your guns and say, you know what? I'm sorry, $1,600 is what I'm comfortable with. At this point, if they do not accept your offer, you'd say just something along the lines of, well, I'm sorry we couldn't make a deal, have a nice day, and start to walk back to your vehicle. Now you're walking away. You're putting the pressure on this person. Now, this is kind of a 50-50, and it just depends on the person you're negotiating with. Half the time, that person's gonna stop you as you walk back to your car and say, you know what? We can do the $1,600 that you wanted. And that'll be the end of the deal right there. However, if you make it back to your car and start to open the door and they have still not said anything to you yet, and you really do want the car and you're happy with that $1,700 they had countered, at this point, you could go back to them and say, you know what? $1,700 does work for me. Let's do it. Okay, beautiful. In this scenario, you got the car for $1,600 or $1,700. However, there is that one other path we talked about before, so let's go ahead and rewind to that. It is the part where they offered $1,800 as their first counter offer, and then you come back with $1,600. Now, in the initial example I gave, they counter offer with $1,700. However, if you're dealing with someone who's a little more stubborn, they may not even give the second counter offer. Instead, they may say, I'm sorry, we can't make a deal. Now, at this point in the negotiation, you don't try to immediately make another counter offer. It shows weakness and lets them know they have the upper hand and they're still gonna stick to their guns on the $1,800. Instead, you say to them, I'm sorry, $1,600 is what I'm comfortable with. You have a nice day. And start to walk back to your car. Now, at this point, pretty much only two things can possibly happen. One, you're walking back to your car, and as you're walking, they stop you and say, you know what, meet me in the middle at $1,700. Now, at this point, don't try to negotiate again and be like, no, $1,600. At that point, you take the $1,700. However, if you make it all the way back to the vehicle and they still haven't tried to counteroffer, you've at least given them time to think about it a little bit more you can then come back and say, you know what? Will you meet me in the middle at 1700? And more times than not, you're going to get them to meet you in the middle. However, at that point, if they're still saying, no, it's 1800 or nothing, then you just walk out on the deal at that point. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this helps you out next time you try to negotiate for a used vehicle. Okay, that's going to wrap this one up. Everyone, you have a great day.